Okay, let's start with carbohydrates. In animals, it's going to be our primary source of energy. So, in a way to think about it is, it's going to be like the quickest source of energy. We're also going to be using some sugars. I'm going to put them into different kind of organic compounds. So they're going to serve as raw material for manufacturing organic compounds. Sometimes we'll put a little chain of sugars into polypeptides, into proteins, for example, or we can build big polysaccharides based on a lot of smaller sugars or monosaccharides. In plants, carbohydrates are also going to be part of their building material for their body plant. As we already know, the cell wall of plant cells, okay, those are made of cellulose, right? Which makes a cell wall very, very strong. Most carbohydrates are hydrophilic. Hydrophilic, meaning that they can mix and they can dissolve in water, or meaning that they can interact with water, right? So if they can interact, then they're going to be able to mix and dissolve in water. Now, what makes carbohydrates? What kind of atoms? Carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens. Okay, these three atoms are the main components of carbohydrates, or these three main elements. These are the three main elements of carbohydrates. And this is the molecular formula, okay, for especially for a monosaccharide. Um, usually have one, or usually, let me do this in a different way, in a kind of a ratio kind of way. For monosaccharides, you usually have, for every carbon, you'll have two hydrogens and one oxygen. All right. But you have to know this. The other one is just as a reference. All right, so we're talking about carbohydrates. What kind of carbohydrates do we have? Well, let's put them into different groups or smaller groups so we can understand them better. If we think about carbohydrates, let's think about them as simple versus complex. I'm going to change this for a reason. Sorry about that. I'm going to put Roman numerals. Simple versus complex. Simple carbohydrates, so going to be your monosaccharides and your disaccharides. All right. Mono means one, means one. Disaccharide, di means two. Okay. One sugar, two sugars together. And complex, well, we'll have the polysaccharides there. And poly means many. Okay. Um, so no, there's two big generalized groups in carbohydrates, right? The simple carbohydrates and the complex carbohydrates. The simple ones are those composed of just one or two monomers together, or complex carbohydrates, which are going to be made of many little sugars. Okay. What are our main monosaccharides? Our main monosaccharides are going to be glucose, fructose, and galactose. And this is very important. Remember this one, glucose. We'll talk about glucose over and over and over because glucose is one of the main ingredients in cell respiration. And remember, plants, what do plants do? They go through a process called photosynthesis. What's the purpose of making photosynthesis for? To make glucose, right? So again, this is going to be very important for cell respiration and photosynthesis. Okay, glucose is going to be kind of our main energy molecule. It's an energy molecule. Fructose, we see that in fruits. Galactose, also a monosaccharide. In terms of disaccharides made of two little sugars, we have maltose, lactose, sucrose. And what are the big ones? The big polysaccharides, things like, for example, starches, fibers, and glycogen.